the moment he stepped onto the balcony of a $40 million penthouse in Brickell, staring down at the neon-soaked Miami skyline shimmering like a living jewel against the night. He realized he was witnessing something far bigger than a city illuminated by wealth. He was watching a financial migration, a silent war for the title of America's richest city, unfolding before his eyes. Because beneath Miami's glowing towers, and behind New York's towering skyline, a battle is taking place. Billionaires shifting coasts, hedge funds abandoning tradition, tech giants rewriting maps, and entire financial ecosystems reshaping themselves in the shadows. And standing there, feeling the humidity cling to his skin like electricity, he knew he was not just looking at two cities. He was looking at two competing empires, each claiming to be the true capital of American wealth, but only one of them would win. Before we dive into this high-stakes financial showdown between Miami and New York, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week we break down the world of wealth, power, luxury, and the hidden forces shaping America's richest cities. And trust me, today's video is going to change the way you look at money in the US. So stay locked in, drop a like to support the channel, and let me know in the comments which city you think truly deserves the crown. Now let's begin the battle. When you think of wealth in America, two cities instantly dominate the conversation: Miami and New York. Two powerhouses, two financial magnets, and two completely different worlds that somehow compete for the same title: the richest city in the United States. But the story behind their rivalry goes far deeper than beaches versus skyscrapers, palm trees versus penthouses, or yachts versus hedge funds. This chapter takes you back to the roots of each city's economic engine, how they rose, why the ultra-wealthy choose them, and why these two cities are now locked in a financial tug-of-war that is reshaping the future of American wealth distribution. To understand this rivalry properly, we must travel back far beyond the modern era of crypto billionaires, private equity titans, sports team owners, and global investors. At first glance, Miami seems like the new kid on the block. Flashy, colorful, impulsive, and unpredictable. New York, on the other hand, feels like the older sibling, experienced, disciplined, powerful, and firmly entrenched in institutional wealth. But the truth is more complex. Each city's wealth ecosystem grew out of very different circumstances. New York climbed by building systems, banks, exchanges, corporate networks, and global partnerships. Miami, in contrast, skyrocketed by attracting people, immigrants, entrepreneurs, entertainment, moguls, and recently, a massive wave of rich Americans fleeing high taxes and high-density living. These opposite forces set the stage for the rivalry that defines them today. New York's rise as America's money capital began in the early 1800s, when Wall Street slowly transformed from a handful of trading desks into the most powerful financial district on Earth. As America industrialized, wealth centralization became inevitable. Corporations needed capital, governments needed debt markets, investors needed institutions, and New York positioned itself at the center of every deal, every loan, every major business agreement. By the early 1900s, the city was already the undisputed economic capital of the country, housing some of the world's largest banks, insurance companies, and investment houses. The New York Stock Exchange became both a symbol and a weapon. America's economic power and attracting global capital that fueled even more growth. But what made New York unstoppable wasn't just the institutions. It was the people. The city absorbed millions of immigrants, ambitious, driven, hungry, and turned that human energy into economic output. The wealthy who emerged from New York were not just individuals, they were dynasties. Families whose fortunes shaped industries, policies, universities, museums, and even presidential administrations. New York didn't just produce rich people. It produced wealth ecosystems that lasted for generations. That's why, for most of American history, New York remained synonymous with one word: power. Miami's story, however, takes a radically different path. For most of its early existence, Miami wasn't a financial city. It was a resort, a tropical escape, a paradise for retirees, tourists, and celebrities. Wealth didn't accumulate here, it was spent here. Miami's early economy ran on beaches, hotels, real estate, and nightlife. But while the city lacked New York's institutional backbone, it possessed something just as powerful: magnetism. Miami pulled people in with its climate, culture, and freedom. And over time, the city's identity began shifting slowly, but dramatically, from playground to power hub. The first major turning point was immigration. From Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, Haiti, Brazil, Argentina, the Caribbean, and across Latin America, Miami became a gateway city. International entrepreneurs, families, and investors brought capital, sometimes fleeing instability, sometimes chasing opportunity, and poured it into Miami's real estate market: restaurants, retail, construction, and small businesses. Wealth accumulated not through large institutions like New York, but through individual economic mobility. Miami became a city of entrepreneurs long before it became a city of billionaires. Then came the second turning point: real estate. Miami discovered its gold mine, the skyline. Tower after tower, luxury condo after luxury condo, Miami transformed visually and economically. By the 2000s, foreign investors were buying entire floors of buildings. Developers were partnering with luxury brands like Porsche, Armani, and Fendi to create branded residencies. Suddenly, Miami wasn't just a warm vacation spot, it became a destination for global wealth storage. Anyone who wanted an asset in America without the complexity of New York turned to Miami. But the real explosion, the moment that changed everything, came after 2020. As the pandemic reshaped the world, Miami went from a lifestyle alternative to a financial migration magnet. Tax-free living became irresistible. Warm weather became a necessity. Miami's image evolved practically overnight. From beaches and clubs to hedge funds, crypto firms, tech startups, and ultra-luxury real estate. Billionaires from New York, Silicon Valley, Chicago, and overseas began moving to Miami, not for vacation, but for permanent residency. Miami suddenly found itself competing directly with New York for the ultra-wealthy CEOs, financiers, and global elites. This triggered a major shift. Institutions that once would never consider leaving New York began opening satellite offices or even relocating headquarters to Florida. Hedge funds moved their entire operations. Fintech companies built campuses. International banks expanded branches in Brickell. For the first time in history, Miami was not just absorbing wealth, it was creating it. And this new wave of affluence wasn't temporary. It became structural. Miami evolved from a lifestyle city to a wealth-generating machine, fueled by tax benefits, geographic beauty, global connections, and a culture that embraces entrepreneurship like few other American cities. But here's where the rivalry gets interesting. While Miami was rising, New York wasn't dying. In fact, New York's institutional wealth remained unshakable. Wall Street still controlled trillions. Manhattan still housed some of the highest value real estate on earth. Corporations still headquartered themselves in New York because of access to talent, connections, and global influence. New York's power didn't vanish, it simply began facing competition for the first time in decades. And that competition was Miami. Today, the rivalry isn't just about which city is wealthier. It's about what kind of wealth defines the future of America. Is the future built on institutions, New York? Or is the future built on individuals, Miami? Is the new American dream about skyscrapers and corporate networks? Or beaches, mobility, and entrepreneurial freedom? New York represents old money. Miami represents new money. New York represents generational power. Miami represents rapid growth. New York represents stability. Miami represents energy. And both are correct. Both are powerful, and both continue to attract different types of wealthy individuals. In this chapter, we've explored how these two cities rose from completely different historical foundations and became the twin pillars of wealth in America. But the real battle is just beginning. Because in the next chapter, we're going to break down the numbers, the income levels, millionaire counts, billionaire percentages, net worth thresholds, tax advantages, and real estate values that reveal which city is truly richer today. And some of these numbers will surprise you. The question isn't just which city is richer. The real question is, which city creates the better environment for you to become rich? And that answer may be very, very different from what you expect. To understand which city is truly richer, Miami or New York, we must leave behind the emotions, the aesthetics, the beaches, the skyscrapers, and the lifestyle arguments. Because at the end of the day, wealth is measurable. It speaks through data, through numbers, through cold, hard statistics that reveal what's really happening beneath the surface. And the deeper you go, the more surprising the truth becomes. The war between Miami and New York isn't just cultural, it's financial. And in this chapter, we break down that financial reality in the most important categories: millionaires, billionaires, income thresholds, economic mobility, real estate value, taxes, cost of living, business ecosystems, and long-term wealth sustainability. Let's begin with the most obvious metric: millionaire population. Traditionally, New York has always dominated this category. Manhattan alone has more millionaires than most countries. According to wealth data groups, the New York metro area has over 300,000 millionaires, making it one of the wealthiest urban regions in the world. You can walk down a single avenue and pass residents who quietly sit on net worths of $5 million, $20 million, even $100 million. Wall Street bonuses alone produce hundreds of new millionaires each year. Institutional wealth has its perks. It creates rich people at scale. Miami, however, is catching up at astonishing speed. Just a decade ago, Miami's millionaire population wasn't even close to New York's. But today, estimates show Miami at over 80,000 millionaires in the metro area, and what's shocking is not the number, but the growth rate. Miami is now one of the fastest growing millionaire cities in the world, rising faster than Los Angeles, Chicago, and even London. This is happening because Miami has become America's new migration magnet for wealthy individuals seeking tax benefits, warm weather, and financial freedom. Every time a hedge fund manager or tech founder relocates, Miami's millionaire base jumps significantly. And unlike New York, where wealth moves generationally, Miami's wealth moves explosively. One billionaire moving in can shift the statistics overnight. Speaking of billionaires, this is another category where New York historically dominated. New York is home to roughly 120 plus billionaires, depending on the year, making it one of the top billionaire hubs on the planet. These individuals represent enormous institutional power. Owners of global corporations, investment firms, media companies, real estate empires, and legacy family wealth. Their presence inflates the city's overall financial weight, adds stability to its economy, and reinforces New York's identity as a world capital of extreme wealth. Miami, on the other hand, has around 25 to 30 billionaires, depending on how you count residents, part-year residents, and foreign billionaires who own property in the city. But here's the twist. Miami's billionaire population is growing faster than almost any major U.S. city, and the type of billionaire Miami attracts is particularly interesting. Many are first-generation wealth creators, crypto founders, tech entrepreneurs, venture investors, real estate moguls, private equity innovators, and international business leaders. This means Miami's wealth is dynamic, not static. It's a city being reshaped by new money rather than maintained by old money. But numbers alone don't tell the whole story. To measure true wealth power, you must look at income thresholds. How rich you must be to actually feel rich. In New York, the income level required to live comfortably without extreme stress is astonishingly high. For a family of 4 living in Manhattan, you may need well over $300,000 per year just to maintain a normal upper-middle-class lifestyle. To feel wealthy, you're often looking at $1 to $3 million per year. That is the reality of a city where even entry-level apartments cost millions. Private schools cost more than many colleges, and everything from parking to dining is priced at a premium. New York demands wealth, and only those who earn aggressively or inherit legacy fortunes can keep up. Miami's threshold is far lower. You can live a wealthy lifestyle: beaches, restaurants, modern condos, nightlife, and more on $150,000, $250,000 per year. To feel rich, you may need $500,000, $1 million per year, depending on the lifestyle you choose. Miami's cost of living is rising fast, but compared to the pressure cooker of Manhattan, it's a breath of fresh air. And because of Florida's 0% state income tax, high earners get to keep significantly more of their money. Now let's talk about real estate, the ultimate indicator of where the ultra-wealthy place their confidence. New York's real estate market is among the most valuable in the world. $1 billion development projects, historic skyscrapers designed for the super-rich, and iconic properties like Central Park West and Billionaires Row dominate the landscape. The demand for Manhattan real estate is global and constant. People don't just buy property here for living, they buy for portfolio diversification, global prestige, and long-term capital security. New York real estate has a reputation. It doesn't crash, it dips, it recovers, and it grows again. Miami's real estate story, however, is far more dramatic. Luxury towers rising along the coastline, branded residences backed by Porsche, Bentley, Aston Martin, and Armani, and $40 million penthouses being sold to international elites have transformed Miami's skyline into a global luxury asset. Miami Beach, Brickell, and Sunny Isles are now home to some of the most expensive condos in America. But what makes Miami unique is this. Real estate appreciation here has been fueled not by institutions, but by migration. People are literally moving by the tens of thousands, bringing wealth with them. This inflow boosts the local economy, raises property values, and accelerates development. Miami's real estate is no longer just pretty, it's profitable. Another critical factor in the Miami versus New York battle is taxation. New York's taxes are some of the highest in the nation. State tax, city tax, property tax, and various corporate taxes. For high earners, this can remove millions of dollars per year from personal income. Of course, the trade-off is access to world-class infrastructure, institutions, schools, and services, things that many wealthy families value. Florida, by contrast, has zero state income tax. This is one of the biggest reasons wealthy individuals and companies are moving to Miami. High-income earners instantly save huge amounts simply by changing their residence. For entrepreneurs, CEOs, private investors, and entertainers, this financial freedom is extremely appealing. Tax savings alone can feel like a salary increase. Now let's examine something deeper. Business ecosystems. New York is a global headquarters city. You have Wall Street, Fortune 500 companies, multinational banks, media giants, publishing houses, law firms, and consulting firms. If you want access to elite networks, multi-billion-dollar capital, and global decision makers, New York is unbeatable. It is the world's most powerful business city. Miami, however, thrives in a different lane. It has become America's capital of entrepreneurship, startups, crypto, fintech, hospitality, entertainment, and international investment. Miami doesn't match New York's corporate institutional power, but it outperforms New York in lifestyle-driven business sectors. And lifestyle is becoming one of the biggest determinants of where the wealthy choose to live and build. The final factor is long-term sustainability. Can Miami maintain this growth? Can New York maintain its dominance? Miami faces challenges: hurricanes, infrastructure demands, rising prices, limited public transportation, and vulnerability to climate issues. New York faces its own issues: crime waves, taxation, pressure, mass migration, aging infrastructure, and political tension. But here's the twist. Both cities continue growing economically. Both remain magnets for different types of wealth. And both will shape the future of American financial power. The richest city. That depends on which kind of wealth you value. New York is richer on paper. Miami is richer in momentum. New York represents established wealth. Miami represents accelerating wealth. New York is the past and present of American financial power. Miami is the future of American financial mobility. And the real question now becomes, which one gives you the better chance to become part of the next generation of wealthy Americans? That's what we explore next. In New York, the mindset is built from struggle-on commutes, unforgiving winters, high cost of living, non-stop competition, and a cultural expectation that if you are not exceptional, you will be crushed by the sheer weight of ambition around you. And although this may sound harsh, it is precisely this pressure cooker environment that produces some of the most successful individuals on the planet, whether they come from Wall Street trading floors, Silicon Valley offices, world-class consulting firms, or high-powered legal networks. The city conditions you to think bigger and faster than anywhere else in America. Every day feels like an exam you must pass. And this constant psychological intensity forces you to recalibrate your limits. Because in New York, waking up without purpose can feel like falling behind, and falling behind can feel like financial death. Which is why the wealthy in New York often become wealthy by grinding through brutally demanding systems, stacking skills, mastering, networking, and positioning themselves in the center of global capital flows. Miami, on the other hand, shapes an entirely different kind of wealth psychology, one rooted not in institutional pressure, but in lifestyle freedom, mental spaciousness, and the energy of reinvention, a place where people come to escape old identities and build new ones, where business meetings can happen on boats and beach clubs, or in rooftop lounges, and where the default mood is abundance rather than scarcity. Miami whispers something powerful to every ambitious person who arrives. You don't have to follow the traditional path, you can create your own. And this melting pot of entrepreneurs, digital creators, crypto innovators, real estate developers, entertainers, and international investors builds a mindset where wealth is not something you chase, it's something you design. Unlike New York, where established hierarchies dictate who rises and who doesn't, Miami encourages a horizontal wealth ecosystem. Nobody cares where you went to school, which firm trained you, or which legacy family you came from. What matters in Miami is your ability to create value, quickly take risks, and build something that scales without asking for permission. This openness produces both explosive success and equally explosive failure, which is why Miami attracts people who are comfortable betting on themselves, not salary earners, but equity builders, not ladder climbers, but ladder creators, not rule followers, but innovators rewriting the rules. And the psychological divide directly shapes the types of rich people each city produces. New York creates institutional wealth portfolio managers, hedge fund partners, private equity leaders, senior executives, and generational real estate families who operate inside systems that have existed for decades. Miami creates self-made wealth founders, influencers, sports stars, crypto pioneers, hotel empire builders, and global investors who thrive on speed, leverage, and unconventional opportunities. The way each city responds to failure also says everything about its psychological blueprint. In New York, failure feels catastrophic because it often means losing your position within a deeply structured environment where reputation and performance metrics are everything. But in Miami, failure is almost expected, embraced, and reframed as part of the journey, which is why second chances in Miami are not rare. They're the norm. This difference affects how people take risks. New Yorkers take calculated risks, backed by data, models, and teams. Miami entrepreneurs take fast risks, backed by instinct, momentum, and timing. Both methods can create extraordinary wealth, but they shape entirely different kinds of individuals. And when you zoom out, this becomes even more visible in the way each city uses time. Because in New York, time is the ultimate currency. Every minute has value. Schedules are meticulously planned, and efficiency is worshipped. But in Miami, time is flexible, fluid, and adapted to lifestyle rather than stress, which means creativity and long-term thinking flourish in ways that New York often suffocates. This is why so many wealthy New Yorkers eventually relocate to Miami. Even if they continue earning their money in New York, the slower rhythm allows them to think clearly for the first time in years, and clarity is one of the greatest accelerators of wealth. And yet, this doesn't make Miami better. It simply makes it different, because there are things New York does psychologically that Miami cannot replicate. For example, New York breeds resilience at a level unmatched by almost any city on earth. Just surviving there gives you a psychological edge. Thriving there makes you nearly unstoppable. This is why New Yorkers who move to Miami often outperform Miami natives. Their intensity, discipline, and competitive mindset give them an advantage in an environment with less pressure. Meanwhile, Miami gives New Yorkers something they rarely enjoyed in their home city: mental oxygen, lifestyle balance, creative inspiration, and a sense that wealth is not just a number but an experience to be lived. And when these two mentalities collide, the disciplined New Yorker and the visionary where some of America's most powerful modern wealth stories are born. But beneath all of this lies the most important question of the entire documentary. Which city makes it easier for an ordinary person to become wealthy? The psychological answer might surprise you. New York gives you access capital, mentors, institutions, networks. Both mindsets can turn you rich. Both cities can make you wealthy. But the psychological path you choose determines the lifestyle, identity, and legacy you will create. Because in the end, the wealth people are not shaped by what a city gives them, but by the mindset the city forces them to adopt. And that leads us into the next chapter, where the consequences of these different wealth identities collide. Reveal which city truly defines the future of American prosperity. And as we reach the final stage of this journey, the question that began as a simple comparison between Miami and New York transforms into a far more revealing exploration of how wealth evolves, migrates, and reshapes the identity of entire cities. Because what we are witnessing in America right now is not just an economic shift, but a cultural rebalancing, a redrawing of power lines, a rewriting of the blueprint that once determined where the wealthy live, invest, and build their legacies. And this changing landscape tells us more about the psychology of wealth than any statistic ever could. Because while New York's legacy remains anchored in its towering skyline and its century-long dominance as the financial heart of the world, Miami's momentum comes from a new breed of wealth. Freer, digital, global, unbounded by old rules. Creating a clash, not of cities, but of eras. And when you look closely, you see how both represent something essential about the evolving American dream, with New York symbolizing endurance, structure, prestige, and generational power, while Miami represents reinvention, speed, lifestyle, and the seductive pull of sunshine-driven luxury. And what makes this moment extraordinary is that both cities, in their own ways, are redefining what it means to be rich in the 21st century. Because New York shows that wealth can be a fortress built over decades through industry, institutions, and influence, while Miami reveals that wealth can also be fluid, mobile, decentralized, and born from new technologies and global networks. And as billionaires, hedge fund founders, and real estate tycoons choose sides, the story becomes less about which city wins and more about what their choices reveal. With New York offering a stage where power is displayed, negotiated, and institutionalized, and Miami offering a playground where power is enjoyed, optimized, and visually celebrated. And though these differences might appear superficial, they actually reflect deeper truths about how the wealthy now think. Because the modern multimillionaire often seeks a life that combines financial growth with personal freedom, and that desire has fueled Miami's explosive rise. Yet at the same time, the most influential decision-makers, the ones who sit atop old money dynasties and global corporate empires, still anchor themselves in New York, proving that some forms of power require the infrastructure only a centuries-old financial capital can provide. And so, the truth is that neither city has truly defeated the other. Instead, they have become two hemispheres of the new American wealth ecosystem, connected yet contrasting, equally necessary, equally influential, and equally shaped by the ambitions of those who inhabit them. And as we analyze this shift, it becomes clear that the ultimate answer does not lie in GDP numbers, a billionaire counts, or luxury real estate values alone, but in the emotional and psychological dynamics that drive rich individuals to choose one environment over the other. Because when wealth reaches a certain level, decisions are no longer just about money. They are about identity, comfort, security, aesthetics, family, and the story one wants their life to tell. And what's fascinating is that Miami and New York each offer a different narrative, with New York giving the wealthy a sense of mission, competition, and global relevance, a place where every step feels like part of a larger legacy, and Miami providing the illusion of escape, the feeling that success can finally be enjoyed rather than endlessly earned. And this duality captures the essence of modern luxury, the tension between striving and arriving, between ambition and pleasure, between heritage and reinvention. And as America's wealthy continue to split their loyalties between these two magnetic poles, the landscape of power itself is reshaped, Because when enough billionaires choose comfort over congestion, or culture over climate, or momentum over history, the flow of capital, influence, and innovation begins to follow. And that is exactly what we are witnessing now. A slow but undeniable redistribution of wealth that is forcing economists, policymakers, and investors to rethink what constitutes a rich city in the first place. And as we look toward the next decade, the most intriguing insight is that the real winner of this rivalry might not be Miami or New York individually, but the wealthy themselves, who now have the ability to build dual lives between two cities that represent the extremes of American luxury, allowing them to operate in New York's boardrooms while retreating to Miami's waterfront penthouses. And this fluidity is creating a new elite class, whose power is not tied to geography but to mobility, adaptability, and access, and their lifestyles embody a truth that may define the next century of wealth. That richness is no longer measured by where you live, but by how freely you can move between the world's most desirable environments. And so as we close this chapter, the rivalry between Miami and New York becomes less a competition, and more a mirror reflecting the evolution of wealth, the shifting values of the elite, and the new blueprint of what it means to thrive in a world where luxury is no longer a destination but a multi-city experience. And in that sense, the richest city in America may not be a single place at all, but the network created when these two powerful worlds collide, complement and elevate each other, shaping the future of American prosperity one decision at a time. And if this journey through America's evolving centers of wealth opened your eyes to how power truly moves in the modern world, then prepare yourself, because what comes next will take you even deeper behind the curtain. If you thought this story was revealing, wait until you see the next chapter in our exploration of money, influence, and the hidden architecture of the rich. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next millionaire secret. Leave a like to push this investigation further, and share this video with someone who still thinks wealth is the same in every city, because the truth is far more fascinating.